All right, let's dive into a really fascinating idea. How a single month can be intentionally designed to completely reshape a person from the inside out. We're talking about Ramadan, but we're looking at it as way more than just fasting. We're talking about it as a kind of spiritual architecture for the soul.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Can 30 days, just 1 month, actually fundamentally change who you are deep down? I mean, it sounds like a pretty big claim, but there's a powerful story from early Islamic history that suggests, it's not only possible, but it's the entire point.
So to understand this, let's go to a bustling market square. And this isn't just some made-up story. It's a real-life observation from one of the Prophet Muhammad's companions, Abdullah ibn Masud. And what he saw that day, well, it gets to the absolute heart of what Ramadan is all about.
Okay, so in this market, there was this one guy everyone knew. And let's just say he wasn't exactly known for his patience. It was pretty much the opposite. This guy had a really short fuse. The type, quick to get angry, always ready for an argument. He was the last person you'd ever expect to see show any kind of restraint.
So it's the middle of Ramadan, and just like you'd expect, something happens. The man is going about his business in the market, and someone just straight up insults him. This is the moment. This is the trigger that everyone who knows him is expecting to go off. You can feel the tension.
And you can just imagine, everyone around him kind of braces for the explosion. They're waiting for the shouting, the yelling, the whole big scene. But it doesn't happen. There's just silence. He does something completely and totally out of character.
Instead of blowing up, he just looks at the person who insulted him and calmly says 3 simple words. I am fasting. And then he just turns and walks away. I mean, can you imagine the shock in the crowd? That one quiet act of self-control spoke way louder than any angry outburst ever could. It showed that something profound was happening inside him.
So, what did those 3 words really mean? This wasn't just some excuse to avoid a fight. No, it was a declaration. It meant that his fast was about so much more than just an empty stomach. It was a fast of his entire being.
This breaks it down perfectly. See, you've got 2 things happening at once. On one side, you have the physical fast. No food, no water, from sunrise to sunset. That's the part everybody knows about. But the real engine of change is the spiritual fast. A commitment to also avoid anger, to avoid bad-mouthing people, to avoid any harmful actions. One is for the body, sure, but the other one, that's for the soul.
And that gets us right to the core definition of Ramadan. It's not supposed to be a month of just feeling hungry. It's a spiritual training month. The entire purpose is to purify your heart, strengthen your faith, and really deepen that personal connection with Allah, with God. The man in the market wasn't just following a rule, he was actively training his soul in real time. So, what's the fuel for this kind of intense self-discipline? What does it come from? It comes from a heightened awareness, a deep feeling that God is always watching. That knowledge inspires a person to check their impulses, not because other people are watching, but for a much higher purpose. It's designed to transform you from the inside out.
Okay, so if Ramadan is the training ground, what are the actual tools you use? What's the equipment in this spiritual gym? Well, the tradition lays out a pretty clear toolkit for exactly this kind of transformation. Here they are, the 4 main pillars. First up is that self-control we just saw in our story, consciously managing not just anger, but all your desires. Second is ramping up prayer and reading scripture, which deepens that spiritual link. Third is charity, because helping others is key to building empathy and compassion. And finally, reflection, really taking the time to look inward, admit your faults, and genuinely commit to being better.
But what's the end game here? This month-long, intense program, it isn't meant to be some temporary state of being a good person. The whole thing is designed to be a training camp that prepares you for the other 11 months of the year.
And the intended results of all this training are pretty profound. The goal isn't just to have better manners for a month. It's about a fundamental shift in your inner self. You're supposed to come out of the month with a softer heart, a stronger, more resilient faith, and a connection with God that feels much deeper and more personal.
It all comes down to this number, 30. 30 days of consistent, conscious practice. You know how they say it takes about 3 weeks to build a new habit? Well, Ramadan gives you a full 30 days, an intense, focused boot camp to break those old negative patterns and build new positive ones that are actually meant to stick.
And this really brings us full circle. The man in the market wasn't just being good for a day. He was actively practicing the person he wanted to become for good. The ultimate goal here is to make that heightened awareness, that self-control, your new default setting for the rest of the year, and hopefully for the rest of your life.
And that leaves us with a final thought. This idea of setting aside a dedicated period for intentional self-improvement. It's a really powerful concept. So it kind of poses a question for all of us, doesn't it? If you were going to design your own 30-day program to build a better character, what would your